to episode 132 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak, your place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. I'm your host Lauren, the badass of Borderlands, and with me as always is the Baroness of Butts, Amrosanti Alex.
The House of Butts.
And the dangerously darling Diarmuid.
Hello there.
Hello there. So, starting off with our time waste of the week, which is Akshon Esports?
Yeah, I think that's how it's meant to be pronounced. I put this on there. Obviously, myself, Alex, I'm not sure about yourself, Lauren, have been following... I know you don't play Overwatch, but I thought maybe the...
Well, I don't know. Maybe, because in loading they show it, so I don't know. Maybe you are following it.
Yes.
No.
Ooh.
Okay. So.
Never mind, moving on.
They show it properly at Scenario. We have it on in the background because we're told to. I'd rather have the cartoons on.
That's all it's gonna get. No problem. So obviously with the Overwatch League on in America, in California really, Los Angeles, all of the streams are usually on in the middle of the bloody night, with the Saturday stream starting at like 9 o'clock rather than midnight, which is the only kind of time that you'd actually probably be able to watch it live, unless you're a night owl, which I'm not. And a lot of the time when I'm trying to catch up on the matches from the previous day, usually I do that when I'm eating my dinner, rather than watching the entire stream, which each match can go on for almost 2 hours, I usually try and catch highlights. And this particular channel, Akshon Esports, is the one that I've there's multiples that do it, but this is the one that I actually like. It tends to cut out all of the crap that you don't need to watch, but it still gives you all of the moments in the game that you kind of want to, so that you're able to, it's not just highlights that you can't really follow, you kind of know the trajectory of the game as you're watching it, which I like. They also do other kind of videos on the channel, interviews, press conferences with the teams and all that kind of stuff, but it's largely just the highlights that I watch it for. And if you're looking to catch up on the action in the Overwatch League and you don't want to watch the entire streams on the Twitch VOD service, then you could just use this, and I find it very, very good. Yeah, they, as I said, they kind of, each video usually lasts about maybe 15 minutes, so it condenses that 2 hour match into the moments from each of the various maps within those matches, and it's quite well done actually. It's obviously, because of the way the shoutcasters work when they're relating what's going on in the matches, sometimes it cuts off at various kind of odd times, like they might be in the middle of a sentence, but overall it works quite well, and I find it quite good just to watch while I'm eating my dinner and just catching up on what's happened. So yeah, that's a suggestion for everybody.
That's actually quite good, because sometimes I miss a lot of the matches. Occasionally I watch them in the background while I'm doing work, but I do miss a lot of them, and I'm like, what was going on last week? So yeah, I'll actually check this out. This is useful to me.
It's worth doing. It's the first I watched. So I think the Overwatch League started up on Wednesday again, and the first game out of the gate was the Shanghai Dragons versus the Dallas Fuel, and that was the first game that Giguri actually played in.
Oh my god, she's already in?
Yeah, she's in. She had her first game, and she was actually incredibly good. There was one particular point, so they still lost the game, unfortunately. Spoilers. So Shanghai Dragons lost 3-1, but they won the last match on, or the last map on Junkertown, and it was in large part due to Giguri managing to hold the point as Orisa, and she did really, really well in that game, and she's slotting in really, really well, and it was just heartening. Obviously, you just look at her kind of as a player, or you try to just look at her as a player, but at the same time, I don't think she can get away from the fact that she is the first woman player in the league. So, unfortunately, there's no way of getting around that. She is that, and she's going to have a little bit more focus. But it was heartening that when they did the walk-in at the start, where, they show all the players up on the big screens as they kind of pan across, when it got to her, there was a huge cheer in the crowd. So it was just nice to have that moment. But then when the game actually got underway, like, everybody seemed to forget about her being, a her, and just sort of cheered along with everyone else, and she did really, really well. So it's just encouraging. I liked watching that, so I'll be making sure to catch up with all of the other Shanghai Dragons games just to see how she gets on. But she did really well.
Okay, because I was waiting until she'd finally be in the team and, to actually watch her. Has Shanghai Dragons actually won any games?
Not yet. No, that's one of the reasons they've brought in so many changes to try and turn that around. And I'll put it this way. in the game, they played a lot better than I've ever seen them play. Like, their strategies seem to be coming off. It's just that they're playing against the best teams in the world. So it's one of those cases where they really have to nail that and kind of pull it off. But the fact that they got that last map and they were very close to getting some other maps is encouraging. It's a trend in the right direction, I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dallas Fuel hasn't been that impressive.
No, but they still have incredible players in their roster so that can pull out, wins when they need to. So it was never going to be an easy game for them, and none of the games are going to be easy for them, seeing as they're bottom of the league. But at the same time, it was just encouraging to see.
I did try and watch the COD World League on the weekend.
Did that go any better?
No. And I was actually there. I was at the COD World League. So, I should have been, drawn into the atmosphere, but I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me.
I have tried to watch a few Call of Duty esports matches, and it's just... People complain about Overwatch being really, really quick. It is nothing compared to Call of Duty. You just see someone get a headshot, and you're like, wait, what? Action replay, please. Action replay.
Yeah, you say it's quick, but they kept overrunning their slots. So it's just like... Hang on, you were meant to be finished half hour ago. I want to pack up. What's going on? Anyway, moving on to news. Middle-earth Shadow War is ripping out microtransactions and loot boxes. I know loot boxes are a controversial issue. I don't play this. Do either of you play this?
No, I think one of the reasons I didn't pick it up was because of said loot boxes.
Yeah, I think that's the point, right?
Yeah, so this kind of hit around the same time as... Battlefront 2 and a bunch of other games late last year that kind of, where this whole loot boxes controversy kind of came into the zeitgeist. And obviously, being a single player game, I don't think many people really anticipated this happening in this game. So it was kind of odd. The reason people were mostly upset was because the war chests, which is their versions of the loot boxes, included items that basically impacted the only multiplayer bit of the game. So it kind of turned it almost into a pay to win. So if you guys haven't played the game, and I haven't either, but I've read up on this, at the end of the game, a new mode opens up called Shadow Wars, which is like a tower defense. If you've played Metal Gear Solid 5, it's very similar to the forward operating base system, where you basically recruit orcs to defend your outposts or your castles. And then other players can kind of send or it's like tower defense almost. Other players can send their orcs against you to try and take it over and blah, blah, blah. And as you progress through that particular mode, you then get to the real ending or the true ending or whatever you want to call it. And that was a huge deal when it came out. People were constantly complaining about this and so on. And nothing was said. Absolutely, nothing was done. Unlike Battlefront 2, where they kind of had that whole thing where they removed the microtransactions and everything. They didn't do that with Middle-earth Shadow of War. I don't know why. And now, after financial year end, we're getting Monolith come out saying that, okay, now we're going to remove them. And it's like, that's a bit crap. That's about 3 or 4 months too late, but...
I think that's why they're removing it, because there's going to be sales. I'm sure there is going to be some silly Game of the Year edition or something like that they're hoping that will boost and make people return to the game. All those things come 6 months later and maybe the game is good, that sort of stuff. And now they're sort of preparing for the second wave of people getting the game and possibly removing loot boxes, because they calculated that is probably more profitable than people not buying the game because of loot boxes yet again.
Yeah, it just feels a bit too little too late for the people who were excited about this game and who were going to buy it from the start and then were possibly turned off by the loot boxes. The fact that they've waited so long to do that kind of leaves a sour taste. At least if you looked at Battlefront 2, where it took them a short while, but they actually did remove the microtransactions from the game.
Well, being the most downvoted comment in Reddit history does do that to you.
Exactly. But Battlefront got most of the heat, but at the same time, Middle-earth Shadow of War was also there. I think it just didn't affect them as much because their core gameplay in Battlefront all tied into multiplayer, so pay to win was a huge deal. Whereas the majority of Shadow of War is a single-player game with just a kind of a multiplayer sort of almost tacked on. So it didn't quite impact them in the same way. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I thought that they should have done this a lot quicker.
I mean, it was really weird to start with because as far as I understand, you can get different orcs through this loot box war chest system, right? So that means it messes up with the creme de la creme Nemesis system, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone knows Middle-earth for Nemesis system and for how it works, and everyone praises it for Nemesis system. That's what people want to play and why people want to play it when they buy Middle-earth game. And then you create a secondary system that messes up with the one selling point that you actually have. Like, to me, it was bizarre from the start. And obviously, now that they've said that they're going to remove loot boxes, they've actually cited that it messes up with their Nemesis system, which I find it's so funny. They're like, yeah, 6 months later, we realized that it's not really good for or I don't know how many months later. Sorry, I can't count. But we realized that it's messing up with this whole thing that we created that we're known for, and we're going to remove it suddenly. And like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really believe in the honesty in that.
and that's what I mean by leaving a bad taste. Like, people have been saying that it's messing up your game since this was announced and since it went live. So the fact that it took so long for them to make the decision to remove it feels as if it's done for financial reasons rather than for the good of the game reasons, and that's what kind of leaves a bad taste. If they ever decide to come back to this franchise and do a Shadow of Rohan, whatever the hell they want to do, if they decide to come back to this particular franchise, it's going to be a hard sell, not only for people who didn't jump on board in the first place, but for the fans that they've developed. It's going to be It's going to be an incredibly hard pill to swallow for them to come back, win them over after making this kind of move so late. You know, it's one of those. If you look at other games, I keep going back to Battlefront 2, so I'll try and change it up. So The Division, when it launched, wasn't a great game, but they worked on that consistently, and eventually it reached a tipping point where even its most harsh critic would now have to say that it's a lot better.
Yeah.
I think when The Division 2 has already been announced, it's going to be shown off at E3. I think when that comes around, the fans that have been there all along, and even the people who might have lapsed, have more of a reason, at least inside their own minds, for coming back. Because they can see that even if something does launch badly, they know that the developer isn't going to just leave them high and dry, and they're actually going to try and improve things. This isn't the case here. So I'm really wondering if they do decide to do even just a Game of the Year version like you mentioned. I do wonder if that's going to sell well at all. This feels a bit sour, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think all the clout that they had with their audience, they've just spent, and this move, I'm sure they thought it's going to be viewed as a positive thing, and I think it's just backfired majorly on them, and they didn't think it through. They rode on and were like, look at us, we're so good, we got rid of the microtransactions, praise us, and everyone else would be like, oh, you still exist, forgot about you, moved on.
Yep, that sounds about right.
There you go.
Fantastic. So thanks to the success of Crash Bandicoot's Insane Trilogy, which came out last year, Spyro the Dragon is going to be remastered, coming to PS4 and Xbox One. Either you Spyro's players back in the day?
I am so looking forward to this. I mean, I was a big Crash Bandicoot fan as well.
Yeah.
But Spyro was the one that I 100%ed. That, and I believe the second one. I don't think I ever got into the third one.
I never got into it. I love Crash, but I was never that into Spyro. I don't know why. His face annoyed me.
It just, for me, I preferred Spyro because it was basically, before open world platformers were a thing, it was an open world platformer.
Yeah.
It was, it was the closest thing you got to that. It was kind of big levels where you could go wherever you want. There was secrets dotted around everywhere. And it didn't feel quite as kind of twitchy as Crash Bandicoot. So basically I didn't get to that one level in Crash Bandicoot where you have to climb up the wall thing and just die repeatedly and then give up. I actually was able to clear this game. At the age that I played it, I went through it, and as I said, I got 100%, I got absolutely everything. It took me a few months at least to get all of that, but I loved it. I just loved the gameplay. It was really, really simple, but it was kind of difficult to master, the usual kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to this. The fact that it has, similar to the Insane Trilogy, all 3 games, all of them are coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'm sure there's probably going to be a PC version, and I'm sure there's also going to be a Switch version eventually. Whenever that happens, I don't know. But I just like what Activision is doing. They're kind of treating these remakes well. The Vicarious Visions did an incredibly good job with Crash Bandicoot, and I'm looking forward to what Toys for Bob do with Spyro. I think it looks good. I can't wait to play it and see what that's like. I'm hoping they do what they did with the Crash 3 and include a demo for the new Spyro in the updated Crash as well, but we'll see.
Spyro was like one of the first games I had on my Game Boy Advance, and I played it a lot. I remember being stuck somewhere, so I don't think I've actually finished the game, and I don't actually remember. It's been so long ago, I don't remember which one it was. But this is like, you know, when people talk about nostalgia things and games from the past being remastered and that feeling of replaying something you as a child, I never felt that because none of the games I played when I was much younger ever got remastered, and now they are being... Spyro is the first one, so I'm like, oh my god, now I can understand what everyone else is feeling because, you know, excited. And, saying that, like, you guys know, I don't really like platformers, so I don't actually know why on earth did I ever get along with Spyro in the first place? I didn't just randomly not start liking platformers. I always not liked them.
Because he's a cool dragon. That's why.
He's a dragon. I mean, it works in his favor that he's a dragon.
Yeah, you do love dragons.
Anyway, point is, I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I think the only thing that worries me about this game is the fact that it's releasing on the 21st of September.
Yeah, September is very busy this year.
They should have spent more money or whatever they needed to do to accelerate development and get it out maybe July or August time, because September has the new Spider-Man coming out, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Dragon Quest XI, which I think are the only games that I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's going to be more announced for that window as well. So it's an incredibly busy month, and there's fewer options now because Red Dead is coming out and everybody's trying to avoid that like a plague as well. So it's a kind of a tough time. It's too bad they didn't try and pull it in a few months earlier, but it's going to be interesting to see how well it sells.
It would have been a good spring release.
Yeah, it would have made it if they, like, I think a lot of people assumed because of the rumors and how long they'd been working on it that it might come out maybe May, June, but sooner rather than later. But the September release just has me a little bit worried. Just a little bit.
Okay, the Handmaid's Tale new trailer for season 2 is out. Alex, you watched all of this?
Yes, so this is very interesting. So, for those who have been following Handmaid's Tale, you know that it's been following basically the progress of the book by Margaret Atwood. That's one of the classics out there. But it finished pretty much where the book has finished. And then the interesting part is that, I don't remember, I think the book was written like in the 80s or something. It's been a while. The book is fairly old now. I can't remember the exact date of when it came out. But from then on, Margaret Atwood for ages was saying that she's got another story for Offred, so it's the character that Elizabeth Moss plays, that she's gotten ideas what's happening to them next, especially since the ending was quite ambiguous of both the book and the series. And so basically now what happens next is gonna be shown not in the book but in the show. And it's really interesting because I thought, well, first of all, the show did a fantastic work with the classic, and you always think, this is a book that is so beloved, it's so quotable, and I think even if you not read the book, you kind of know what it, that it's set in a stepping world, who the handmaids are, kind of stuff. It's so much in our culture at the moment, and especially when everything goes bad in our world, we're like, oh, this book is the prophecy of what things to come. I always see that people tweeting watching Handmaid's Tale like, oh, this is the prophecy of the things that are coming for us. And I'm like, no, please no. This is horrible prophecy. Anyway.
Just to confirm, is season 2 going to follow her idea of what the next book is, or is this something kind of completely separate, similar? Are they doing Game of Thrones where the book isn't written yet, but they are actually following roughly what George R.R. Martin has kind of laid down in terms of the story direction, or are they doing their own thing?
To be honest, I'm not sure if she's writing the second book. I know that she's closely involved with the show, to the point, like, as I was going to say, in the show, they've expanded quite a bit. They've done a really good job with the book, and they expanded quite a bit on some secondary roles, because the book was sort of limited that it was always from Offred's perspective, so characters disappeared off and on pages, and you didn't know what happened to them because Offred didn't know what happened to them. And with the TV show, they obviously had an opportunity to expand on that. And I mean, Alexis Bledel was fantastic as of Glenn in the last season, and she's returning back for the second season. She was one of the standouts of the series, basically. And there's also a character of Samira Wiley's character Moira, who was also kind of a secondary character, but had way more light in the show. So I think basically there's likely that instead of writing the book, and this is just, conjecture, I'm not entirely sure, that she's just gonna tell what Margaret Atwood is gonna tell what she wanted to tell, the story of those characters, just through the series, because she's so closely involved with it. And I'm also quite excited because they've announced that Marissa Tomei is gonna be in the series, even though it's unclear what role she's gonna be, and Bradley Whitford as well. So they're adding some really interesting cast.
Nice. I need to catch up on that show. It's one of those ones that I've wanted to watch for ages.
You should.
Same,
I need time to do it, and it's getting there. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to watch that. What's that available on, by the way?
Well, it's a Hulu original. You can buy it on Amazon Prime. I would say if you're planning to watch the first season, don't watch the trailer for the second season.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it will tells you where some characters end up.
I'm glad I did not click on that then.
Yes, no, don't click on it. Don't click on it. But no, seriously, the first season was absolutely fantastic. So you're good.
Okay,
awesome.
Gonna have to watch that.
Okay, Neil Gaiman adapting Gormenghast for TV. I've never read Gormenghast. I'm guessing you have, Alex.
No, I haven't. The thing that I think is really interesting about this, so Gormenghast is not actually Neil Gaiman's book. It's a Marvin Peake's book that has been adapted before, but I don't know how successfully or not. I haven't actually watched the adaptation. But what's really interesting to me is Neil Gaiman's closer involvement with Hollywood in making TV series ever since American Gods he started producing American Gods, because it was actually really interesting, because American Gods was written as a book that can never be done as a movie/TV series, because Neil Gaiman worked for a long time in Hollywood and was sick of that environment and sick of the type of storytelling they were saying. So he wrote American Gods. Then, despite everything, the American Gods was actually produced as a TV show, and a really, really good one. If you haven't heard us gush all about American Gods. And now he seems to be coming and working and doing more TV shows, and not even some of the properties that his properties, but some other books that he loves, and he's now involved. So from what I understand, I'm not entirely sure what the role, like the official role is, but I think he's basically collating the talent that is actually gonna write the adaptation of the Gormenghast for the TV.
Sounds like a producer role or a head writer role, maybe.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what I think as well. But yeah, I just think it's really interesting that he's coming back to the, to the TV, and hopefully that means that things are going good with American Gods. Please, pretty please.
And is this going to be on Stars, or do we know who's going to be actually getting the rights to this, or is this show still being shopped around?
Yeah, I think it's mostly shopped around. This is very early on news, but I think it's logical that it's gonna go on Stars, because they have a connection and it would make sense.
And they have fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Stars, I mean, here's the thing. The first thing I watched on Stars was American Gods, and I think that brought up their prestige quite a bit, because now I think a lot of people are actually aware that this network exists.
They had Ash vs. Evil Dead, so they had me already.
Right. Well, fair enough.
They also had Spartacus, and that's what got me in.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, Spartacus was the first one. But yeah, Spartacus was a long while ago. They need a bit more hits. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. So I think it would make sense for them to work closely with Neil Gaiman, because he's got a good, he's a good writer. He's got a good eye for properties, and I think that would be a really good fit for them.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And finally on news this week, Isao Takahata, Studio Ghibli co-founder and director, has passed away. He was 82 years old. He passed away from lung cancer on April the 5th, and he was always really good. He was never as successful as Miyazaki, but he did one of my favorites, which was Pompoko, and My Neighbors the Armadas, which is a really, really sweet movie.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, this was quite sad. I found out about this on Thursday when it was announced as well, and it was kind of one of those moments where I saw a kind of a headline saying Studio Ghibli co-founder dies, and immediately I was like, not Miyazaki. And then when I found out this, I kind of felt bad for feeling a little bit relieved.
Horrible, right?
It feels terrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of read over what he has actually done, because he, like, anytime anyone thinks of Studio Ghibli, they think of Miyazaki, but the work he's done is actually incredible as well. Like, Only Yesterday I really liked, but the film that kind of made me love and hate this man was Grave of the Fireflies. It just cuts me. I to this day I cannot recommend it to anybody purely because it's so depressing, and it's one of the finest made animations I've ever watched. You know, it's incredibly well made, as you would expect from Studio Ghibli, but it will depress you for a year.
Now, even though you talk the talk, I'm really want to watch it now. I don't know what it does about me that I want to watch the most depressing thing ever, but you can't die.
Just watch it with, like, borrow someone's puppy and just have the puppy in your hands while you're watching it, and that might kind of soothe you.
And all the chocolate.
And chocolate.
All the chocolate.
And chocolate, yes. And candy floss maybe as well. You know,
and
whatever you need.
All the sweet things. Puppies, kittens, everything. Unicorns. Just to, like, bring you back up again. Because your soul will sink.
Exactly. Yeah, this was just sad news to find out. And, yeah, obviously, rest in peace and all that.
Yeah.
But it's just sad to see a guy who's created some really, really good works. I'm hoping, usually when this happens, when a kind of a director or an actor dies, usually it kind of causes a resurgence in their work because people are kind of see the headline, they go, oh, who's this person? Clearly a lot of people loved him and his work or her work, or you know what I mean, and then they kind of go and look for that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping this kind of introduces more people to those films, and they'll hopefully enjoy it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, moving on to the meat of the show, what we have done this week. Alex, you've been watching a little bit of TV that we have mentioned a few times in the last several months, and it's gone through quite a major change. How has it been, Alex?
Well, I'm starting from scratch. So I'm currently in season 3 territory, I think. We're talking about House of Lies. It's a really great show, but it's also weird. I'm not sure it will be for everyone, but it basically follows the life and work of management consultants. And the premise is, you know, there's the people that come into the businesses and try to help them improve. But the point is, you don't really know what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing. The thing is that they're probably scamming. What?
I want to apologize. My intro, I was thinking about House of Cards.
All right.
I was wondering. I didn't want to. Jump to conclusions, but I was like, is she talking about House of Cards?
I was talking about House of Cards, not Don Cheadle. I apologize. That is Sleepy Lauren Brain. Sleepy Lauren Brain didn't get to bed till 5, so I apologize.
House of Card Lies. House of Card Lies.
This has no Kevin Spacey. This is Kevin Spacey 100% free, so you're free to enjoy it. But yeah, as I was saying, management consultants, it's like you never know or understand what they're doing. They're not so much scamming, but they're trying, as they put in the TV show many times, to put the client on the tit so it keeps coming back and asking them so they can bill them for the work that they do. You know, granted to say they are super educated, very clever, very business savvy people. And the cast is fantastic. So Don Cheadle plays the main role of Marty Khan. Who doesn't love Don Cheadle? I don't know. Then we have lovely Kristen Bell. I think that was her big show before The Good Place and The Good Show. And then Ben Schwartz and Josh Lawson, and it's the first time I saw both of them was in this show. Mm-hmm. And they also kind of play the other two supporting / main characters, or I don't know. It's kind of like, it's 4 main characters, but Don Cheadle is more main than the other. I don't know what the correct term to refer to them. Yeah, it's a bit outrageous, kind of unlikable people skimming unlikable people in most cases, but I do think the 4 main cast, they grow in you and you kind of start to like them more and more as they go, despite them technically just trying to do anything they can to earn the most money. But it's really hilarious show. It's really well acted and cleverly done. All the acting is absolutely fantastic, and It's got 5 seasons. I'm not actually sure. I've never made it to the 5 seasons. I'm currently on season 3 and, still going strong. And I'm excited to see how it finishes.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Very nice.
I've looked into it because I do love Christian Bale, but I may actually try it now.
Yeah, the one thing I would say, don't try to understand how they solve business problems in the TV show, because I don't think it's supposed to make sense.
Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, just enjoy the ride, and then sort of all the backroom deals and all the double crossings and all that kind of stuff and the humor. Enjoy that. Don't try to kind of look at it too logically, because then you're like, what? My head is exploding. Help. So, yeah.
Nice. Dee, you've been watching a little bit of Wes Anderson, haven't you?
I have indeed. And it's, I was really, really impressed. So I went into Isle of Dogs last weekend, and I kind of, outside of the trailer, I didn't know anything about this film. Obviously, the trailer kind of basically sets up the entire story. And for those that haven't seen it, the film is set in a kind of a near future Japan. Mayor Kobayashi is in charge of the Megasaki city, and these names are kind of meant to be as weird as they are. And he has this kind of long history of hating dogs. And when a dog flu spreads throughout the city, he makes a decree to send all of the dogs to a trash island nearby. So that's obviously where they ship all of their trash and kind of keep it over there. And they ship all of the dogs, whether they're pets or whether they're the
stray
dogs
dogs?
in the stray dogs on the street, they ship them all to that island. And then I think the film kind of kicks off then about, I think is it 6 months later or something like that? Basically, Mayor Kobayashi's ward, so I think a distant nephew of his name is Atari. He's a young boy, I think he's 12, decides to try and get his dog back, his pet, named Spots. So he hijacks a small little biplane, flies to the island and crashes. And that's where we meet a kind of a group of 5 dogs named Chief, Rex, King, Boss, and Duke. And they're voiced by Bryan Cranston, Ed Norton, Bob Balaban, Bill Murray, and Jeff Goldblum.
Oh my god, this cast!
Exactly.
Whoa.
Immediately you know how good this film's going to be.
Well, we got 3 Wes Anderson alum there.
Exactly.
Oh, 4 actually. Ed Norton's
exactly.
He's in Moonrise Kingdom.
The amount of people he's able to call on. Scarlett Johansson's in this. Harvey Keitel. Frances McDormand. Greta Gerwig. Tilda Swinton. Ken Watanabe. The cast is huge. And everybody you probably know. So the film kind of takes place as the boy searches for his dog on the island, and these dogs decide to try and help him. And it's incredibly well made. It uses the same kind of stop motion animation that Fantastic Mr. Fox used. If you remember
motion.
that. Exactly. And it uses a very similar kind of stop motion work for this. It looks beautiful. The soundtrack is incredible. I love the setting and the way they incorporate, like the fact is that the dogs all speak kind of English, but the Japanese characters speak Japanese, and very rarely do they use subtitles. They usually use some sort of a way of translating what the people are saying, or if they can't, you just kind of get it from the context of the situation. So it's really, really good in that sense. And the story basically is what happens when the dog, or when they try to find the dog. Do they find the dog? Do they manage to come back? It kind of goes from there. It's very funny. It's really kind of heartwarming as well in a few scenes. I was kind of shocked at how good it was. Like, I know Wes Anderson is a brilliant filmmaker, but sometimes his films kind of leave me cold. Very rarely, but sometimes they do, and I was kind of worried about this one, but this one does a really good job. And just to round it off, I will say they're all good dogs.
Oh.
They're all good dogs.
They are all good dogs.
Do you know what? My brain is an incredibly bizarre place, because people have been telling me, go watch Isle of Dogs, and like, dogs are my favorite animals. I love dogs. I can't walk on the street and see a dog and not say, look, there's a pupper. Like, any dog. Happens every time.
They're all good dogs.
Yeah. So, for some reason, when someone said to me Isle of Dogs, my immediate association was that the dogs are not actually like literal dogs, but kind of like a slang name for something. And I was imagining that it's some greedy prison movie that with some ex-cons and cons trying to get out. Like this is a super bizarre place where my head went, and I was like, well, I don't want to watch a prison movie. I'm not gonna go watch the Isle of Dogs.
I'll be honest with you. This you're not actually 100 miles away from what the film actually is. Like the dogs are, they've gone a bit wild in the 6 months. They are a bit gritty. It's a lot more violent than I was expecting. So that was kind of odd. But yeah, it's not 100 miles away with what you're talking about. It is basically a kind of a prison break movie where they're stuck on this island prison and they're trying to get out. So I wouldn't say you're 100 miles away, but I do still suggest, I highly recommend this actually.
No, I will absolutely watch it because it's it's about dogs. I'll watch anything with dogs.
There you go.
I even watched The Life of Pets. That wasn't great, but I watched it because it had dogs.
That film was terrible.
Yes, upsettingly so.
That was so bad.
Right, so I've watched a little something this week. So we got the second season of a series of unfortunate events launched on Netflix last Friday. Do either of you watch this?
No, I've seen the trailers for it, and it does look quite interesting, and I do like, what's his name?
Neil Patrick Harris?
Yes. Why did I blank on that? But yeah, I do like his work. It's one of those that I'm sure, again, similar to bloody everything that I seem to watch at the moment, but similar to the Handmaid's Tale, I'm sure it's one of those things that I'll catch up on. How is season 2?
So it's really good. Yeah, you get a reunion between Dr. Horrible and Captain Hammer, which is very, very fitting for me. So I just start squealing as soon as you see Nathan Fillion, his little coiffure. Looks so good. You've got some fantastic new characters coming in. You've got Lucy Punch, who a lot of people would know from Hot Fuzz, probably, and some other stuff. But she's really good. You've got a lot more kind of intrigue and looking more into the secret organizations. It delves a lot more into the secret organization than the book does, and it's starting to deviate a lot more from the book, but in an interesting way that makes sense to the story. We pick up from the end of the last season where the Baudelaire orphans go to the Austere Academy, and it's a similar in format. So each book takes 2 episodes, so we're up to 8 books now. I think they just finished. They just did the Calgary Carnival was the last set of shows that was on the last pair. I don't know if it was as strong as first season. It was still incredibly enjoyable and very, very fun. The ending was a bit slightly lackluster for me, but that might have been because the end of the first season, it ended in a song and I freaking loved it, and this one ended on a cliffhanger, but in quite a literal sense. So it was I liked the bit of whimsy and weirdness that just ended the season with a frickin' song about the Baudelaires. So it is still very enjoyable. I will rewatch it probably next month, but highly recommended. My little gripes there are insignificant. It is very, very fun. Very good watch. Each episode's about 40 minutes, so each book is about an hour and a half. So if you want to take it as a little kind of movie per book, then you can break it up that way. You don't have to mission this series. It's quite easy to break up. And
do they feel do each 2 episodes feel kind of together, and then the next one is to get do they feel like they're segmented that way into those books?
Yeah, the narrative device does do that. So you do have Lemony Snicket narrating the entire thing, and that's Patrick Warburton in his dulcet tones. And he starts off with his little kind of spiel at the start of every single episode. Doesn't matter if it's the first one of the set or the second one of the set. He will just do a little recap and interject throughout each part of the episode and go a little kind of surmising at the end. And you can take them all individually, but they all do link together as a book series would. But you can take it kind of like you're watching the Harry Potters. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we started watching the first season and then we kind of fell off and then we came back. It's really weird because I kind of like the story, I like the aesthetic, I like pretty much everything about it. I like the movie except for Jim Carrey. who I just hate in general in everything.
Oh, then you love Neil Patrick Harris because he is fabulous in this.
Yeah, I did love Neil Patrick Harris. I don't actually know why. I don't know, maybe I'll pick it up as one of the things that I watch in the background while work or stuff like that, and I can catch up with it, but yeah.
Yes. Oh, and like Tony Hale's in it as well, who people won't know from Arrested Development. I went blank then. And he is utterly fantastic in it. Yeah. So now Alex catched up on a bunch of movies that people apparently have seen.
Yes, I'll go through this very, very quickly. But the first one, I'm not sure if I actually talked about on the podcast, if Joe went to see it or not. But Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
I've seen it.
Oh, isn't it surprisingly good?
Yes. I went into it, honestly, not expecting anything really. I mean, I think Kevin Hart can be hit or miss.
Kevin Hart can go away most of the time. Yeah. He was bearable in this. He was okay.
He's good in Central Intelligence, but I think he was carried by The Rock in that.
Yeah, and The Rock does a good job of carrying him multiple times in multiple ways in this one as well. And he's obviously as charismatic as he always is.
Yeah.
Jack Black as
a teenage girl is the funniest thing I've seen in a very, very long time. He just nailed it.
I just can't even with this place.
Yeah. He's so good.
No, it's a lot better than you're probably thinking it is. That's the only way I would be able to put it. Like, as soon as I saw the trailers, I thought that might be funny, but this is gonna go really badly, isn't it? And no, it doesn't. It's really enjoyable. Really worth watching. Yeah.
I don't know. It was so kind of uplifting and nice. Like, look, don't go with the idea that this movie is gonna change your life. But as a Sunday afternoon movie to eat while having lunch. To eat while having lunch? To watch while having lunch? That's what I was meant to say. I mean, Jumanji is just perfect. It's funny, it's uplifting. Rock smises, Rock is on top. Karen Gillan, I can take it or leave it. I quite like her there. She's playing this girl who is kind of awkward and geeky, but then she's transformed obviously into this
sex bod.
Yeah, she's transformed into this video game idea of woman warrior in safari with the little shorts and whatever. And by the way, anyone who's not like really watched this movie or doesn't know anything about it and watched the trailer and was like, oh my god, the poor girl in the tiny shirts and the outfit that shows off her belly button again. That is the point. They make fun of it. That is exactly the point. Yes, that is the satire.
One of my favorite scenes, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to set this up. Obviously, Jack Black is a teenage girl who is basically the opposite of this awkward. She's like the cheerleader.
Yeah.
So at one stage, they have to distract some guards. So you have Jack Black basically teaching Karen Gillan how to be a kind of a sexy woman. Yeah. And it is one of the funniest scenes. Oh, that's all I'll say. It's really, really good.
Yes. Well, if you haven't watched Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, I think you should. It's a ton of fun. It's sunshine and rainbows. It's very enjoyable. Now, moving to the movie that is also it's overboard with enjoyable and niceness. I finally watched Paddington 2. Oh, God. It's so good. It's so good.
I love that bear.
Can you see the bits that are filmed in Little Venice in it?
Yeah, a little bit. There's like a scene or two that when they sort of fly by there or something like that. It's not major.
They were filming that for ages in the freaking lake because we were at regular features when they were filming that.
Yeah, but that's how it always happens. There was a couple of years ago. So my friend Julia, for those of you who don't know, she's a huge fan of Mila Jovovich. And she went on this slightly stalker/detective behavior when she knew that Mila Jovovich was filming an atrocious movie that I can't remember what it's called. But she was filming it in London. It was one with the Pierce Brosnan. If anyone remembers or watches it, I can't remember what the movie was actually called. But anyway, the point being was that from her Instagram/tweet, Julia deducted where they're going to be filming like a scene, and it was in London. So we went there to see them shoot, along with like half of paparazzi in London, obviously. And they've been shooting it for for the whole day. They were shooting it, and in the movie, because I went to see the movie because I was standing there on my feet for the whole day for no reason, just because I'm a good friend and I support my friend's obsession. I went to see in the movie how long the scene was. It's literally Mila Jovovich running from the door, running onto the street, Pierce Brosnan chasing her, running for the door and chasing her to the street. Like 5 seconds. They were filming it for the whole day.
Oh my god.
Are you kidding me? I mean, to be honest, the highlight of it was actually meeting Paul, is it W.S. Anderson?
Yes.
Yeah, her husband, who was there during the shoot, so that was nice. But anyway, so yeah, back to Paddington 2. This is like a huge sidetrack. But look, it's adorable. It's everything that's ever said. I don't know if it's better than one. I could take arguments for the fact that it's actually better than one, but you know, it's just so unbelievably nice, so sweet. This movie doesn't have one bad bone in any of its production.
I just like how uncynical it is. Like,
yes,
it's incredibly sweet, and it doesn't try and cover that up at all. It's just nice.
Blech.
You go into this and like you just enjoy it.
Yeah, you're just constantly have smile on your face, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, I wish the whole world was like Paddington World, because even like the bad guys there, I don't know. I mean, they're bad, but they're not that bad. The villain, I'm blanking out on the actor's name.
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. Gosh, I'm just, how did he
He's a villain? What?
He is the villain of the piece, and he just does a
fantastic.
Yeah, he's really, really good. I genuinely don't like Hugh Grant in almost everything he's in.
Same.
But this one, I thought he just does it perfectly. He does it absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
It suits the film. Like, it's not like a completely separate character or a completely kind of standout, like an awkward kind of over there character. Like, it fits into the aesthetic of Paddington. He works really, really well.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic thing. And then I'm going to finish with the movie that is a bit weird one. It's The Girl with All the Gifts. Have either of you seen it?
I saw that
No.
ages back and only once, but it was I remember enjoying it.
I've read up about it. It's on Now TV now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I watched it. Basically, it's another take on the zombie apocalypse kind of genre, but it is a little bit different. It's set in UK, which is not immediately obvious from watching from the beginning of the movie, but it gets more obvious as you go on. And I don't want to actually say why it's a little bit different, because I think it's worth going in and actually watching it. It's not like a major production. I think it's more on the indie side of the movies. But the one thing I love about it, and it's the thing that I always like to point out in every movies, it's a show, don't tell thing. Like, they don't explain to you, they don't chew it up for the viewer. Especially in the beginning, you have to watch and you have to make your own conclusions as why things are happening the way they are. And it's really bizarre, and I'm gonna just say, like, kind of one of the first scenes, just because I think it will get people interested. But you're basically in this sort of facility / prisons, and your prisoners are kids, and the adults seem to be completely and utterly terrified of them. Yet the kids are going through like a very kid emotions, like they go to school, they learn stuff and stuff like that, and then sort of, and you're following one of the kids, the girl, and her favorite teacher through the story of this movie. And that's all I'm gonna say, but it's really interesting where that takes us. And the ending, I would say, is not a typical zombie apocalypse kind of movie ending, so check it out if you can, especially if you have subscribed to Sky or Now TV. It's on there.
Fantastic. I keep saying fantastic today. Yeah, that's great. So Damon's also been watching something that's a little bit different in the kind of horror genre.
Yeah, this one, I went to see A Quiet Place yesterday. This is the first film...
It's a directorial debut by John Krasinski, right?
Directed, written, and starring.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's basically, it's his baby in terms of, like, you know, he created this kind of from scratch kind of thing. And as you might expect from a first-time director, it's quite low budget, but that doesn't take away anything from the film. The basic premise is there is a family in America, and this is set about, I think it's 82 days, I think they mentioned at the start of the film, after something really bad has happened. And it kind of turns out to be an extraterrestrial invasion by these creatures. These creatures are incredibly sensitive to sound. So if they hear you, they'll attack you and kill you. So this family has to basically live in silence in order to survive. The good news, or the slight advantage, I suppose that you could say, is that they have is one of their children, their eldest daughter actually, named Reagan, is deaf, or at least partially deaf or mostly deaf. But because of that, the entire family knows how to sign. So obviously they had a little bit of an advantage at the start of this whole invasion.
This is how they survived.
Exactly. So they're able to sign to each other. You can count the amount of lines, the amount of dialogue lines spoken in this film probably on one hand. It's like they don't talk. It's all through sign language. And it's incredibly impressive. This film is basically a silent film made today. and it works incredibly well. It feels really strange because when you're in the cinema, obviously, because it's quite low budget, like the aliens aren't shown that much, but even when they're not there, even when the family is just doing regular things like having dinner, where they don't serve food on plates, they serve them on leaves so that they don't make noise. When they play board games, they don't use like pieces on a board, they use like bits of fabric to make sure it doesn't make noise.
Wasn't like felt and stuff like that.
Exactly. They just everything they do is all about not making noise. That kind of lack of sound in a cinema, when it feels loud, it feels like there's just this constant tension. You're just waiting for some kind of noise. As soon as there's any bit of noise, it's amplified, and you kind of get scared as soon as anyone kind of breathes heavily or anything. It's one of the most tense movies I've ever been in my life. Thankfully, it only lasts 90 minutes, because I think if I was puckered any longer, I'd have died. It was so good. It's incredibly well made. John Krasinski is the father character. He is brilliant. Yep. He kind of carries the movie quite well.
He is wifey is his real wifey.
Exactly. His
nice
real
wifey.
Emily Blunt, plays his wifey in this. She is incredibly well cast as well, because in the film, she's heavily pregnant. And as you can imagine, in a world where nobody can make a sound, when you invariably, you know this is going to happen from the opening bloody scene. When she goes into labor and she can't make a sound, that scene just...
Yeah, that's the scene that actually sold me on it. Like, I really want to watch that movie now, because I saw a clip of her trying to give birth soundly in a bathtub where there's something creeping, and it's just, whoa. You just need to see that.
The baby when it comes out, crap. Oh.
Yeah, so even if she manages, I'm not going to spoil it, even if she manages to give birth to said baby, you then have a baby. A baby makes noise. So, it's incredibly well made. I have to give a shout out to the two young actors as well who played the children. Reagan is played by Millicent Simmons. She's the one who is deaf and has cochlear implants to try and help her hear, but they don't work, so the father's constantly trying to tweak it and trying to help her to hear, because there's moments in the film where you think it's silent, and it kind of is, but then when the perspective changes, so he uses perspective quite well. So for instance, in one scene, the mother and the father have a dance, and the mother is carrying around like an iPod or something, and she puts the earphone into the father's ear, and that's when you hear the music, and the music then plays over the scene as they dance slowly. The same thing happens with their perspective. So anytime it's focusing on the father or the mother or the son, it's all fine. When it focuses on Reagan, because she's deaf, there is literally no sound. So you don't even get the background noise, the kind of the birds chirping or the wind blowing or anything.
That's
and you
really
kind of
clever.
realize how dangerous that is, because if she makes a sound, she doesn't know she's made a sound.
Ooh.
So that's where it gets a bit more interesting. So obviously he's trying to fix her implant to help her survive, basically, because this is all about survival. And then you have the son, Noah Jupe. He's like younger. He's the younger brother, and the father's trying to teach both of them how to survive, and he does scared very well. You know what I mean? He does frightened out of his wits very well. The entire film has an incredibly small cast. It's, as I said, 90 minutes. It feels even shorter than that because you're so tense the entire time. It is brilliant. If you get a chance to see this, go and see it. If you don't get a chance to see it, cancel whatever else you're doing and go and see it. It is really worth watching.
Yep, I really, 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 really want to.
I know, it looks so good. Alright, so I've basically just been playing VR games for the last 2 weeks. That's why I've been away. So I've had a chance to play a bunch of newly announced and brand new demos this last week, and I showed off a new game at Insomnia 62 last weekend. So have either of you played London Heist on VR World?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Did you like it?
It's okay.
I loved it. Obviously it's a shooting gallery game, but it's probably the one shooting gallery game that does that really, really well. The fact that you have to kind of reload the clip every time you run out of bullets, it just adds that extra bit of tension to the shootouts, which for some reason no other game that I've played yet in VR does the same thing where you have to physically reload the ammo, but I don't know why they don't do that. But anyway, yes, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so like you actually have to pick it up, put it into the butt of the gun like you would a normal gun, and it kind of got a weight to it as well. Well,
exactly.
Blood and Truth is the demo for the full game based on that.
Nice.
So I got to speak to the developers as well last week, and Blood and Truth, we had 2 demo versions. So we had a long demo and short demo. So the long demo, you come into a little courtyard behind a casino, and you have to get in. So you have to start by getting up a ladder. So you literally have to pull yourself up a ladder, get in, find your way through, drag yourself through an air vent while trying to take out guards with your silenced pistol, and then find your target in the casino somewhere and go down to the main floor. That's where the short demo starts. Short demo is still 10 minutes, but you start off by setting C4 in this casino while there's oh my god, it must be like 20 guards come at you in waves of about 6 at a time, and you have to go like sneak around the casino floor, setting up the C4 where you get a pack, you have to put the C4 together, you have to place it on the mark, and then you have to set it while being shot at from all angles. And then you go upstairs into a corridor scene, which that bit's on rails, but you go around chasing the guy who's your mark, and you were just like shooting the hell out of everyone. And there's bits where there's bullet time, where if you shoot a fire extinguisher, it slows down time, and you are still loading the same speed, but your shots are slower, but everything just looks wicked cool. And then you get to the end section and you finally meet your mark, and you can have a conversation with him. You can be really nice, be an absolute dick, like really intimidate him, or just shoot him in the balls like I do. They've actually done a shot in the balls animations. So you shoot him and he clutches and then just swears at you for ages until either it times out and the next like kind of sequence starts, or you just double tap him and just shoot him in the head or on the foot, whatever you want. There's like so many options just for that little section. And then you jump out a window. And it's just so much fun. I played that demo so many times. And like this is the first demo, really early build. So because I played it so many times last weekend, I did see a fair few of the glitches that are in that. But considering, like I said, it is the first one that's come out. We don't have a release date yet. Hopefully either end of the year or start next year. I was so excited for this. It was so much fun.
Yeah. When this was announced, I was really excited for it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to actually hopefully playing it at some point soon. Hopefully
they'll have it at Res. I know Sony has a stand at Res, but I'm not sure what's going to be there. Probably a Pot of Blood and Truth. And it's going to have, in the main game, double wielding. So you can have 2 pistols at once. Sawn-off shotguns, throwing knives, flick knives. Loads and loads of different weapons for you to play with, which is really fun. I also played Firewall 0 Hour. Have you heard of this one?
I have. Isn't it very similar to that robot thing on Oculus? Or am I thinking of something else?
This is like Rainbow Six Siege in VR.
Ah, okay. So completely different. Okay.
So with the aim controller, you are put into a 4v4 match where people are defending or attacking a point, and you have to hack into a computer. But it's 4v4 in VR. So we had a room set up with 8 consoles. Everyone had an aim controller set up to VR, and you're running around as if you were in Rainbow Six Siege. It was pretty fun. There was only 2 maps we had available. The issue with that, because you're using the aim controller, you are able to look around and move your controller and kind of move your head in your direction. And the front analog stick is your movement, just like you usually would in a D-pad. But your right analog stick, which would be your kind of scoping around, it allows you to kind of turn in 30-degree increments.
Okay. Very similar to Farpoint then. Farpoint does a very similar thing.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't like, because I started playing out with that and it's like, nope, that is making me feel quite sick.
I know a lot of people kind of say that the 30-degree increments thing is kind of meant to stop you feeling sick. But I honestly found that there should be options. I believe there certainly isn't Farpoint, for instance, because that's the only analog I can bring to this. In Farpoint, you can actually set it so that instead of having 30-degree, it actually just does free motion. So when you use the stick, it'll just turn you, which I found actually doesn't make me sick at all. It's much, much better.
I find that a lot better as well. And hopefully they will, because again, this is an early demo, so hopefully they'll bring that into it. But like 30-degree increments always like just screws my brain up. It just doesn't work for me. Another one that I played was Smash Hit Plunder from Triangular Pixels. You may remember a few EGXs ago, I played their game Unseen Diplomacy. There is a video on BigRedBarel of me basically crawling around a room, an empty room looking like a divot. But it was a really fun game. And Smash Hit Plunder is a pixely kind of... The visuals are like Sierra-esque, like earlier LucasArts, very pixely, very cute. And you go around this castle and you basically have to smash the hell out of it and get as much loot as possible. But you need to smash up this castle so you can pay off the debt to this ghost in your castle. Because you've got this really nice castle, you just inherited it, but there's a ghost there and they don't want to give it to you yet unless you pay off the debt. So you just go smashing up other castles. And it's just super fun. It's just really, really nice, fun game. There is a multiplayer with that, but it's a VR versus in-room, and the person in-room with the standard controller, they tend to have a bit of an advantage on that, we found during the demo, so maybe that'll get better. Maybe we did speak to the developers saying that it feels like a bit biased towards the in-room player rather than the VR player, but we'll see how that goes. Just want to mention another one that is interesting multiplayer-wise is called Persistence, which is a space thriller horror game where it's kind of like Dead Space but less Cronenberg-y, mixed with a bit of Alien Isolation. So you have one person in the VR headset exploring this ship and you're talking to your AI. But then you have one person in the room on a tablet playing along.
Okay. That
person can be super nice or an utter dick if they want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can help you or they can completely screw you up. Tell the aliens where you are. Give you all the jump scares. Just freak you the hell out. Like reduce your oxygen. All that fun stuff to make it a bad time. But a good time at the same time.
So it's a troll game. Good. Okay.
It can be. It depends who you play with. And the last one I just want to mention, I have been playing this one at home. This one's already out. It's called I Expect You to Die.
Yes.
This? Yeah.
Yes, that's out. Yeah, I have that myself. That's really fun, actually.
I freaking love it. Have you finished it?
Yes. There's only, I think, is it 4 levels? Like, it's not very long at all.
I think there's about 6.
Maybe I haven't finished it then. Whoops. Because I thought there was only 4. I think they are adding more, and I think they're going to be free, but I didn't think they had added them yet, because I haven't had an update yet.
The car
and the plane.
Submarine.
Yeah.
Window. Train carriage. I swear there's other ones.
Maybe.
I can only think of those 4 at the minute. But that one's super fun. So, start off with the freaking opening credits, which are amazing. It's like you're in a Bond movie, just like... got like Shirley Bassey-esque music coming at you. Sodadel, Bassey's the one. And then it's all black and red and you just look around and there's stuff coming at you because it's in VR. And then you get to the game and there's just so many ways to die and just little things. It's just, It's so well animated and just so quirky, weird and wonderful. Like you have to pretend to be a window washer. You have to mix chemicals. I love it. That one's so much fun. Yeah, check out I Expect You to Die. That one is awesome. I'm going to stop talking about VR now. And Alex, what is Micolash Adventures? Oh, Micolash. Micolash. Sorry, I read that wrong. Micolash? That sounds like makeup. No, Micolash.
We need to tell the story of Micolash.
Yes.
Micolash, the Nightmares, what is he?
He's the host of the Nightmares. So
the host of Nightmares.
Yeah, in Bloodborne, he is one of the last few bosses. I'm not going to tell you how many are left because that would spoil it for you. But he's one of the last few bosses. And I remember when I played this game, I co-opted the entire game with my housemate Sean. I don't remember, like, Micolash didn't really make a big impression because we pretty much got through him pretty quick. And same thing for our friend Calvin. He got through it fairly quick. So then when Alex decided to play through Bloodborne when it went on to PlayStation Plus, we were like, okay, that should be fine. We can co-op with each other and we can get you through it and, you can see everything. So we were going through various bosses and it's actually the next one that I was kind of worried about because it's quite tough. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Oh, we've gotten to Micolash. Micolash is a pretty easy boss. He's basically like a human character with a huge cage in his face.
He's also, I'm sure he's in love with Rom, the big spider thing, because he keeps talking about him way too much.
Yes. So the setting of the fight is you're actually inside his nightmare. So he's like in control of the world. So he's all these kind of marionette skeletons around that attack you and all that kind of stuff. And the boss fight takes place in kind of multiple different areas where you have to chase him around before you fight him. And for some reason, about 2 weeks ago when we started this boss fight...
Playing pretty much every day, I have to point this out. So
yes,
pretty much every day.
Kept running into issues for poor Alex. And I tried, Calvin tried... I think even, did Joe try at one stage? I can't remember if Joe tried to help you.
Because,
she wasn't at that stage. She would have had to progress. But yeah, I remember playing through, I don't know how many times we actually did play through. I didn't play through all of the time with you, so you and Calvin did it a few times without me, and we did it without Calvin a few times, and then we did it together a few times, as all of us together. And no matter how many times we played this fight, it kept losing, kept dying.
My God.
Alex, I will hand it over to you to cover what happened last night.
Yeah, well, pretty much, if you're following me on Twitter, you may have seen me tweeting my Micolash updates of us dying, violently every time. There is one that unfortunately my PS4 didn't save the video clip because it was hilarious, or at least I found it hilarious. Maybe Calvin and I didn't. But it's basically before you actually get into the boss room and traverse the fog, there are 2 skeletons there. And skeletons, they look like nothing, but they hit you quite big. And so we're prepared to go through the skeletons, run past the skeletons.
Something we've done multiple times.
So
we just run
times.
through this area just to get to the fight.
Yes, just run past the skeletons into the room, and I'm running after the 2 of them, and then I hear scratching noise, 2 people screaming. I'm like, guys, what happened? There was a lucky skeleton that one-shot both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
that was not our proudest moment.
Happen?
Not our proudest moment.
We didn't even get to the boss. Anyway, so there was so many. Yeah, I had the whole Micolash adventures of failure and what's on and going over and over again. And yesterday I was like, that's it. That's it. I can't, because it was literally getting to the point where if I don't do him this time round, I'm pretty much stuck in the game, because the blood vials, so basically your health, the elixirs that you can use to get your health back, I couldn't buy them anymore because I kept losing my blood echoes, which are bloodborne souls. I kept selling off stuff I had in my inventory, and I kept running out of that. And to get through that fight without blood vials, I think it's pretty much impossible unless you're like really good. And let's face it, when have I ever been good in Bloodborne? Never. That's the correct answer. So I needed blood vials. I ran out of Molotovs, I was running out of bullets, I was running out of everything. I was like, guys, I was running out of insight, so that's the thing you need to use to call other people into your world for the co-op. And I was like, if I don't do it now, that's it, I'm stuck in this game, I'm not progressing, this is not happening. So I think Di and me yesterday did about 10 runs?
It was close to that, yeah.
Yeah, very close to that, trying to beat him. And I did beat him on the last time.
And just to confirm this, so we played the first stage, which we kind of got a mastery of eventually.
Yeah.
And it was always the second stage where he gets even more aggressive. It was always that stage that we kept dying in, and we kind of worked out a strategy for getting him. And then I jumped down first and immediately die. Immediately die. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have to reset again. But Alex didn't have enough blood vials, so she jumps down and she starts the fight. And I'm just kind of listening, and yeah, if you want to continue, because I didn't actually see what was happening, so you can describe what happened.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you were listening, and it's going to be fun me blipping it, but it was going like this. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, pretty much. As I was trying to dash him and he was getting me. But yeah, basically the trick is that he's got like, I was watching someone not a playthrough, but suggesting how to kill him. And he has this one attack where he shoots out like electrical balls that always kill that one shot. And then there was guy playing and explaining how to get it. It's like, Micolash is not really a problem. Even when he does his like third attack or whatever it is, it only gets a little bit of your health. I was like, fuck off. He one-shots me every single time. He totally does a little bit of damage with his attack. Right off. Oh. Anyway, it was a lot of, dodging and slashing and throwing Molotovs at his head, and, I finally done it, but Diarmuid was there present, but it was one of the biggest orgasms of my life beating that boss, because God, has this been one BDSM relationship for the last 2 weeks that I was not starting to enjoy. Oh, it was so painful, and yeah, beating him, it felt like nothing else I've done in my video game history. It was a milestone. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to the next boss, which apparently is harder.
Yep.
And us being stuck on it for a month.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Oh, bless.
Yes, but there you go.
It's worth it.
Yes, as you can clearly see, we're loving Bloodborne. We're hating it and loving it at the same time. I think Di reached, for the first time. Before that, it was always either Calvin or me would rage quit, and yesterday was for the first time where Diarmuid was like, that's it, I can't play this anymore. I'm gonna throw this controller. We have to go and play something else. But there you go.
Okay, so that's it for episode 132 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak. Got a few shout outs. Thank you to Will Driver, Stinger, OC Gamer, and Gabriel. If you would like to get in touch, you can do so on BigRedBarel.com, on the forums there. You can do so on Twitter at BigRedBarel using the hashtag GeekSpeak, or you can use our personal Twitters. I am at The Sweet Shrimp.
I'm at DustyTube_.
I'm at Diarmuid_S.
You can also go to Facebook, facebook.com/BigRedBarel. Leave a little comment on there. You can also join the Gamer Nights group on there and play some Overwatch with these lovely people. You can also leave us a little review on iTunes, 5 stars preferred, but whatever you think we deserve, just make sure you leave a little comment. You can go to Tabletop Tuesday if you are in London, over in Dalston Town at Loading. There's a new featured game every week which you can win. You don't even have to win your round, just let the people know that you played and your name gets put into a prize draw. Alex, what's the featured game this week?
The featured game this week, which is April the 10th, is Tetris Duel. So it's kind of like Tetris board game with a little bit of assistance of technology. Should be good. It looks really, really funky, as all Tetris does.
Nice. Does it have that awesome soundtrack though?
You know what? I think we have to figure out how to put it on in a bar while we're playing it.
No, you just get whoever's playing it. Everyone else has to go.
Yeah. Saying that, if you go to the actual Tabletop Tuesday post on BigRedBarel, which is top left hand corner, if you go in there, Tim actually did quote the melody of the song in his post. Bless his heart.
Of course.
Oh, bless.
Of course.
So go check that out. You can also join the Big Red Barrel Discord, and we have the Big Red Barrel YouTube page, BigRedBarel.com YouTube.com/Barrel TV.
Go scream at Tim that he can't play Ace Combat or whatever that thing is. The video that everyone's coming just to hate on Tim, and yet for the first time ever, Big Red Barrel TV account got 1,000 subscribers for this video. So this is so ridiculous. It just doesn't compute in my brain at all.
Fantastic. Okay, have I missed anything?
Do you guys want to mention EGX?
Yeah, EGX Rest.
Yeah. That's next. That's coming up this weekend. So we recording this weekend then? Or week off?
Probably. Oh, that's a good point. Because we're recording Saturday and we're probably going to be at Rest.
Yeah.
So we probably will either have to look for an alternative date or we might have to skip and come back at some point later. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a BRB UK episode covering Rest where you might hear some of us or all of us. And yeah, for the Geek Speak to BD. We'll need to figure it out. Yes, because I'm sure all of us will be eager to go to Rest to actually cover some games and not at home.
Monitor the Twitters.
Yes.
Monitor the Twitters.
Monitor the Twitters.
If you are there, tweet at us. We'll come say hi. Have a little chin wag. Nice to meet you all of you. Yeah, OC Gamer, you were at Insomnia. You didn't come to see me. Rude. I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
So rude.
So rude. Okay, so for episode 132 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak, I've been Lauren.
I've been Butts.
I've been Diarmuid.
And we bid you goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Butts.
You and your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
why not roll on over
to BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.